Today's coverage of the 2022 winter meetings from San Diego, California on MASN All Access is brought to you by Toyota. For legendary safety and reliability, choose Toyota and let's go places.
Today, being another starting pitcher?
I don't know that we're any closer to any acquisitions than we were this time last night or this morning, but a lot of info's come in, a lot of conversations have taken place. We still have a great deal of players out there. This is just really the beginning of the offseason, so whether or not something comes together in the next day or two, I think there's a lot of information gleaned here today.
What is the organizational thinking, or from the analytical basis, I suppose, on whether to give a player a long-term deal as opposed to maybe 1 or 2 years, especially for a starting pitcher? I mean, how do you guys kind of analyze that, and what approach do you give?
I don't know if there's a real blanket way to put that. Some of the players at the very, very top of the market tend to not only command very high salaries, but also really long commitments to go with those salaries. So that tends to be where a lot of the very long multi-year deals come from, at least so far in this offseason. I think one thing that we're looking at as we build this team for the next few years is what we have internally. And I look at our major league team right now, and we've got a couple of guys at shortstop. We got some more shortstops in the minor leagues. We've got a great catcher. We've got a great center fielder. We have more coming too, we think. So we have a lot of internal core players already that we want to build around. So obviously we're trying to add to the starting rotation and the pitching staff. That's why we signed Gibson. That's why we're hopefully going to find somebody else to bring in. But the length of the commitment is just something that's dictated by the market.
Given what the market has shown you so far, do you see yourself getting a free agent starting pitcher in a 2-year or 1-year deal at this moment?
At this moment, no, but yeah, there's a lot of guys out there still that we're still engaged with on in some cases multi-year contexts that are free agent starters. But look, we've seen the market out here. It's been very fast, very competitive. A lot of people are looking for pitching. It's something that all 29 other teams are out there looking for. And it's made for some really robust deals so far for these guys, but there's still other people out there that we're targeting, and that's not to speak of any trade possibilities, which we really haven't seen that market pick up around the league yet, in my opinion.
Is the rotation more length or money? I mean, in your mind right now, because obviously you're going 3, 4, 5 years in a pitcher that can have some extra risk. If there's an obstacle, is it more financial or more length of terms?
Well, I think kind of what I meant is the length tends to go with the money. Like it's just bigger deals is what we see. Unless the player's coming off of a down year or an injury and wants to go reestablish some market value, I think they're probably, at least the way that this market's been operating, a correlation between the length of the deals and then the average annual value on the contract. So I think we're looking at, first and foremost, we're looking at our 2023 team, our chances of getting into the playoffs, who really helps us with that the most, going out into the market and see if we can get deals that line up fairly well. You got to play in the market, so it's competitive and you got to pay the going rate, but line up with what we see as guys that'll give us a boost. And I think we have a lot of internal talent in the organization, especially on the position player side, to sort of plan forward, and we don't want to run into a situation where we're having to trade some of our core players away because we've signed a guy to take their spot. That just doesn't make much sense to us right now. I mean, we're still in a very hopeful part of what I think is going to be an upward curve here for the organization. We feel great about where we're at, and we want to be really careful and strategic about building on this group that we have.
What were you taken aback, let's say, when you saw the reports on Taiwan Walker and Talion, players that you've reportedly been linked with?
Well, to be careful, I can't comment on stuff that hasn't been officially announced or anything like that, nor would I. But it's pretty apparent here at the winter meetings that this is not some reticent market. People are getting after it. I think it's good. It's a good sign for the sport. You know, it's always fun. It's nice after having 2 winter meetings off to have this happen. I think we've been in the middle of a lot of things. We've had some really encouraging dialogue with agents and teams, and you know, I'm glad we were able to get Gibson in the fold when we did, because we think it's a nice fit for us with what we're looking for, with some veteran presence in the rotation, and we're gonna keep doing that. But I look at this more as an information gathering event first and foremost. We get to do a lot, see a lot of people, and you know, like I said, if we get into a competitive situation in the context of the winter meetings, then we'll get into that competition. And I honestly, that's how we ended up with Gibson when we did. It was something that he and his agent were kind of drawing to a close prior to the winter meetings, and there were some other bidders. But I don't really see this as like you got to come here and do something kind of event. But it's been a very productive trip for us, and I think it's been a lot of fun for me and the group to be in the mode that we're in, really for the first time in these winter meetings.
Mike, you mentioned several times that a goal for you is to increase your playoff odds. To what extent are you hoping to do that? Is it just put us in a position to get in? Is it put us in a position to win a division, to make the World Series? What is, as you guys are discussing it, what is the extent to which you're hoping to do that?
Look, in the division that we're in, and you know, the teams that were at the top of the division this year and where we came from last year, I think it's really hard to sit there and chart a course and say we're likely to win the division. Now, you see young teams pop all the time, and I don't, you know, that's going to be our goal when spring training breaks. But with as daunting as the American League East is, I think our goal this year is to make the playoffs, or put ourselves in a better position to make the playoffs, and that's been the stated goal. I also think that our team and our organization is going to continue to get better in 2024 and 2025 and 2026 and 2027, and I don't think we want to steal from those teams to juke the odds of the 2023 Orioles, you know, getting into the playoffs, because we see this as a window opening up. So it's a little, you know, we have to be a little bit careful about how we go about that. It doesn't mean we're not looking at trades, where we're either trading prospects or maybe trading players on a major league team. But we're being mindful of the next several years, because I think we've got a very healthy period of time coming up for us.
Contracts for the arbitration guys back burner right now because of all the other stuff you're doing.
Yeah, there's not too much on that front going on. So we tendered everybody, basically, and looking forward to having those guys back.
Mike, as you explore the left-handed hitting market, is it mostly going to be depth players, or do you see yourself pursuing someone who could be a legitimate starter for you guys in your lineup?
Yeah, I think that we're in talks with players that would you know, be in the starting 9 on opening day, or however you want to put it. I think that we have a group, as I've said, that's positionally flexible. It's pretty deep, and we right now, as we're presently composed, we got players that we're going to want to give rest. We're going to want to give DH days to, and we have enough flexibility to kind of rotate people around. So I would view the probable additions at this point that we're talking to and see out there as guys that will come in and kind of be on the same level as our other starters of people that go into this rotation of playing time, that's out on the field, that's at DH, you know, take a day or two a week off. I think it's a really nice setup that we have, and it gives Brandon some flexibility when he wants to, you know, give Adley a day off, or give Santander a day off. He can use the DH spot. Mountcastle can DH. So that's kind of the way we're presently composed, but we're talking to people out there that, you know, could fit into that mix and kind of get into the DH rotation as well.
The finances have always been something since you've gotten here, and you've said that when you guys were ready to win, you would have the money there. And, you know, if you walk away, sign another guy or two, but it does not really increase by a lot your finances, your budget. There's going to obviously be some criticism because you guys aren't taking maybe as much of a step as fans or whatever would want. Do you feel like you have the financial wherewithal to get a player of, you know, significant financial value or AAV if you wanted to? If it fit, do you think you could actually go ahead and increase with one guy a large amount?
Look, to take a step back, came into this situation with the Orioles at the end of the 2018 season. It was a very big and a very unique project for this entire group of people, including the partnership group and the transition to John and just there, a lot going on at the franchise level, and we had to reset things, reboot things, rejuvenate things in every corner of the organization. We're still doing that. We're still building the academy. We're still building our infrastructure, the international academy, and we've had a tremendous amount of effort and investment directed towards that. And I know that we have a plan to keep the underpinnings of the organization healthy going forward, which is something that the Orioles haven't done historically, while also funding a competitive team in the American League East. And it's not something that we're just going to force and do all at once and have it encumber our roster because we went out and made some deals that don't make sense for the next window. But I do expect that our payroll is going to increase steadily from this point forward, now that we feel like we have a competitive team and we feel like the internal talent's there to fuel a competitive team. So it doesn't do me a lot of good to get super specific about that, because there's a lot of other people that I'm competing with out in the industry that are reading and listening to this stuff. But I feel very healthy about where our organization is at and where it's going. And there's a lot of stuff that we're still working on in terms of the future of the franchise, the lease, the Camden Yards renovations are going to come with that. This has been a pretty major effort, and I think that we're on track, and more than on track. I think we're ahead of schedule on the baseball side. But we've got realities that we're going to take into account so that we don't put ourselves back in an unhealthy position like we were in the 2018. And baseball is set up the way it's set up. There are teams and markets out there that are frankly just hard to keep up with, but there's other teams and markets that look the way that Baltimore does, that have really healthy and successful programs, and it might involve us looking a little bit more like those, at least in the short term, until the business is built back up. But there's ways to have a very healthy Orioles franchise for the next 10, 15, 20 years, and that's kind of what we're transitioning ourselves into.
Given all of that, do you still feel like, as far as like, obviously there's some things going on with ownership and suits and all kinds of other things being talked about, do you still feel you have the financial wherewithal that you thought you had when you first came here, as far as picking, increasing that payroll to a larger extent?
Yeah, I think we're going to get into a mode where we find a very solid water level for what the Orioles payroll is going to be. It's going to be best done concomitant with the revenues and the attendance going up, which is going to happen as the team gets more competitive. So again, this isn't something where we're going to flip a light switch and get to our max capacity again. I think there were years here recently where the team was over its means, and when I came in, we were kind of still feeling that from years prior, but that's in the past now, and we're in a very good spot, much better spot, and I'm extremely confident that we're going to take the plan to its logical end course, which involves continually increasing the payroll, and it's going to start this year.
When is the Dominican Academy going to open?
I'm not ready to announce when it's going to open, but it's going really well. It's on target. Kobe was just there. I was just there. The construction looks really cool. It's coming along. It's very weather dependent. There's been a lot of shipping delays with COVID. So you kind of buckle up for some delays with these generally. Some of the other teams that are building right now have had to shut down construction. Fortunately, we've been able to avoid that, but it's coming along. I think in this coming calendar year, we're going to start getting in there at some point in time, and maybe have programs, if not part of the DSL season, there.
Thanks for watching, and tune in all week to our coverage of the 2022 baseball winter meetings from San Diego, brought to you by Toyota. For legendary safety and reliability, choose Toyota, and let's go places.